Hi, I'm Imtiaz Munshi, and I was actually born and raised in Mumbai, which is one of the large cities in India. Left there when I was 17 years old, and I've been in Houston, Texas since 1981. My story is, in a way, a typical immigrant story. I left India to go abroad for further studies, and then eventually went in for a professional degree, which is a CPA certification, and here I am today. My becoming a CPA actually was quite accidental in that back in Mumbai when I was 16 years old, I had no idea what I wanted to do. So this friend of mine, or friend of my dad's rather, was asking me which path I wanted to follow. And I was asking for his guidance. And as he rightly pointed out, we had three broad streams. You could either go into the science stream or the liberal arts stream or business. And I knew I didn't like science much. I liked arts, but at that time there was no money in it. And so business was the choice. And so I went in for business education, arrived in Houston actually in 1981, went to work. I was in London for a while, worked for Deloitte Haskins and Sells, what was then Deloitte Haskins and Sells. And then when I came here, I went in the opposite direction, worked for a solo CPA, and really have stayed in that small firm solo environment ever since. So today, fast forward, we have a small CPA firm in one of the suburbs of Houston called Sugarland. We're 10 people, and it's been a great profession for me. Our firm is focused on tax work primarily, and we have some high-end, interesting international tax work, for example, that we do. Tax advisory, business advisory, and then of course alongside there's always accounting and bookkeeping as well. So that's the nature of our firm. We're a small team, we're a happy team, and very glad to avail myself of all the benefits of this profession. Well, so now as the owner of a small CPA firm, it's a dilemma. The dilemma is our work can be seasonal, number one. Number two, finding good staff and retaining them is always a challenge. And managing growth is a challenge. And when you're a small firm and you're growing, as I did, from 2 people to 3 to 4 to 5 and so on, every incremental step is one which you don't want to take. If you're a 2-man firm and you're adding one more person, you're really increasing it by 50%, for example. So that's always been a challenge for any small firm, and I was experiencing that as well. So I was always looking for some solutions, and I've looked at outsourcing in a real way, and even tried it out several years ago, and did not like it. And the prime reason I didn't like it is because in outsourcing, you really don't know who's doing the work on the other side. You don't know how competent they are. The staff on the other side keeps rotating. You can't really form a relationship as you do with your own team. So you never feel like an outsource environment is part of really your team. I just accidentally happened to come across an email that I noticed, and it just kind of popped my eyes. I think it came at the right time for me as well, about Integrity's offer of remote staffing, which was a very different approach that I had, at least in my case, not seen before, which is that they were offering to provide all the infrastructure, a lot of the training, the onboarding, and the recruiting really from the beginning to find the right fit for the kind of practice that I had, and to find a person that would then be really my staff and part of my team, that I could always form a relationship no differently than if that person was sitting in my office. So that intrigued me, and I responded to the email. I remember talking to Sean. He had called me and we discussed it briefly. I was still very concerned because giving in confidential information out to someone in a remote part of the world, not a remote part of the world, but remotely from the US perspective, is daunting. And so I took it very slowly. I took my time. I asked for referrals. I actually spoke to a couple of their clients. I remember one gentleman was in Florida who was actually very forthcoming about his experience and very positive about it, which gave me some good assurance. And then I went further. They actually arranged for a video tour of the facility that they have in Ahmedabad, India, and introduced me to their executive team members and so forth. And that gave me some additional comfort as well. Following that, I said, okay, I'm going to take the plunge and try this out. So the recruiting process, where they found the right people for me to interview, spent the time, allowed me to ask all kinds of questions and so forth. All of that process was very, very comforting. In a way, even though it was long distance over international waters, it was actually very as if I was really recruiting someone locally. So, and it was good to know that there's an actual HR department and an HR professional team out there finding the right resource. So I ended up actually getting not just one, but two people. And they came in to our firm at a very critical time, actually. We were in Houston. We had just suffered extensive problems with Hurricane Harvey, which you may or may not have heard of. So it was January 2018, and we were still on 2017, rather 16 tax work. So these two people came on board and were a great help in helping us manage our workload during that year. Fast forward into this year, those two folks are still very much there. They're still very much part of our team. And my folks here in Sugar Land, in Texas, interact with them on a daily basis. They're really no different than maybe having someone working in Dallas or Austin or someone like that as part of our team. So it's been a positive experience, not without challenges, and I can talk a little bit about that. There were some challenges initially in terms of making sure that the two staff people that we hired remotely were able to integrate into our work culture, our work style. This was new for us, so we had to devise our own way of how to communicate the tasks, and we came up with our own system that worked for all of us. The other challenge for me, of course, and for those of you who might be listening that might be thinking about plunging in this direction, you have to also manage your own staff's expectations. So your own staff needs to understand that although you would be bringing on board an experienced person, that person, because they're working with some disadvantage, it's not like they're in the cabin next door and you can just shout across the room and ask a question. They're out there in a remote location, and their policies are that they don't have a pen and pencil, so they're doing everything on screen with being connected to your environment, really. So your staff has to understand that the remote staff is working with some disadvantages, and they have to be very accommodating in understanding that. And once your staff understands all that and gets that idea that these are competent people, but they've got some handicaps that they're working with, then the understanding can form and the relationship works very well. Now, I'll tell you one thing. Even though we took the plunge and we started with these two folks in India, and we started it because I was really, at that point, really in need of some help, as I mentioned. It's still a challenge feeling the right sort of fuzzy feeling, the warm feeling of comfort. And I wanted to be sure that I did a personal visit myself to the facility and actually met with the two staff that are working for me, not only because I wanted to cement the relationship, but also because if a client asks me about the remote staff and about remote staffing in general, I should be able to say I felt that I should be able to say with clarity, yes, I've done my due diligence. Not only that, I've actually visited their facility. And Sean and his team were actually very kind enough to be very accommodating. They said, sure, you come visit us anytime. I chose to visit actually in January of 2019 this year. And it was a wonderful visit. I got to meet not just the two staff that work for me and spend a little time with them. I actually visited their home as well, but also, and met the family, but also got to meet the team at Integrity, visited the offices, saw the facility, saw firsthand the kind of security that they maintain, no pads, no pencils, controlled access from one area to another and so forth. And I was quite feeling a lot more comfortable after that visit that yes, I've done my due diligence and I know that this is a professional team and they take security very seriously. As CPAs, confidentiality is everything for us. Our clients' data and confidentiality of it is everything. And so this visit actually really gave me a whole bunch more warm and fuzzy feeling that I'm dealing with the right people. Now, we've had these two folks since last January, and it's worked very well. But the important thing is not just worked well in terms of getting the work out, but the impact that it has had on the environment in our office as well. I would say more than anything for my staff, it's a relief, right? It's a resource which gives them relief. And the reason is, we may have a client that has something urgent that has to be done right away, for example. We know that we have a team that is able to come in while we're still sleeping and turn some work around very quickly, for example. And this general relief in the sense that we also have a resource where during tax season when all the work is crunched together, being able to have someone that is still producing and getting stuff done while we're still barely waking up and coming in. So the way we've arranged for our work schedules with our remote staff is during tax season, they're there, we're on Central Time, and they're working on with us all the way till about 1 p.m. or so, our time. And they're so good. There have been 2-3 occasions when we've had a rush project. They've actually stayed even longer. So it's really, they've pulled an all-nighter more than once to help us out. Having that type of a resource, as I said, is a huge relief. It helps all of us here in my office locally in Sugarland feel a little more confidence that if we're taking on something, we'll be able to handle it because we have that resource. So when we started with Integrity, it was because I needed something very badly. It was a desperate need that I had. We were suffering from the lingering effects of Hurricane Harvey. I needed support, and the two folks that we brought into our team really came through and helped us tremendously. Now that we've had that experience, I'm realizing not only has it been a relief for our staff in terms of all the support that they're receiving, but the whole team at Integrity has been proven to be a great partner, if you will, in the sense that as we grow our firm, I don't have to then be worried about finding more office space, for example, as I take on more clients. I know that I have a resource that has been proven to be, and I can add staff as I go along. In fact, I was ready to add one more person. I had hired two. I was ready to add a third one simply because it is very cost effective. And I felt like this would be great for the coming tax season. This was earlier this year. And Sean actually at Integrity advised me not to jump into it and not to be that eager. And I appreciate the fact that he did that, because as it turned out, the staff that I had in place last year were so well trained that come this tax season, we managed everything very efficiently, and I really didn't need to hire a third person. And Sean, through his experience, guided me correctly for that, so I'm very thankful. So I do see Integrity as being a very sort of solid part of our firm's growth in the future, in the longer term, and being able to manage that growth with additional resources without investing in too much infrastructure is perfect for me.